Take that, sir! Behold a grown man weeping like...
Anyways, hello everyone, it is I, Lumi, and it has been a couple months since I have done a video about anything. I know I've been kinda quiet, but that's low-key because I have nothing to record about. So, to compensate, I've come up with a new solution. Why not do a video on the one game I have bought recently that I really like a little too much. I swear it's not that serious. But anyways, in today's video, we are going to be ranking all of the NightFarers from Elden Ring NightReign. Now, this has come off as personal experience from a guy or a girl who's played Elden Ring NightReign for at least 100 hours on minimum, and has spent a lot of time playing the game. I've played through the game, done some of the remembrances, and defeated the final Night Lord with a couple friends of mine with some silly goofiness. So, today, we're going to be ranking all of them, each but one by one, and what they really say about you. Actually, we're not going to really be doing that. That's actually another separate video. Foreshadowing. Anyways. Wilder, being the first character we are introduced to NightReign as a whole, is a all-rounder kind of character with basically the most balanced stats out of all the characters, having just about normal HP, normal mana, and some pretty good dexterity, along with his other stats being relatively normal. His starting gear has the Wilder's Greatsword and the Wilder's Shield, having the armaments, the uppercut, and the buckler's parry. Now, Wilder can use these weapons to his advantage, depending on the relics that they choose. If they're going as strength, a dexterity, or a power build, then it can go either way for what it goes for. And his also other main abilities, such as his Q ability, or one of his other abilities called the Grapple Hook, allows the Wilder to pull or go towards any enemy that he is locked onto. This can be exceptionally good at closing the distance between you and the opponent while not really taking that much damage, but also getting a free hit in, if you're not cocky. Unlike me, who's incredibly cocky in this clip and tried grappling them multiple times and then ends up failing and trying to parry. But, aside from that, there is another one of their abilities called their Ultimate Gauge, shown in this clip. This Ultimate Gauge allows Wilder to create a massive explosion, and depending on the armaments that you choose, can allow the fire that he emits to cause burn damage. This said ultimate can also cause a stagger, which can lead into a free critical hit. And this is exceptionally good when it comes to defeating enemies such as the Black Knight Assassin, as you're seeing in this clip, where I'm kinda struggling to beat it, but I'm getting there slowly, trust me guys. I'm not that bad. But, overall, Wilder is probably the most balanced and the most well-known character in NightReign as a whole. Now, as for tips and tricks with Wilder, I recommend trying to close the distance between your opponent and you, using your grappling hook a lot of the times, and enabling yourself to necessarily use it. And you want to make sure that your ultimate is ready when you really think you can use it. Unlike me in that last section where I stupidly used my ultimate thinking the Fell Omen wouldn't move, but he ended up moving instead. So then I basically wasted my ultimate trying to hit it. And another part, I would say, is you have to play a little patient when it comes to Wilder. Wilder may be an all-rounder and he may be a kind of fast character, but in reality, when it comes to the weapons that you're using, you really have to focus on how fast you are and how fast your opponent is. Such as me facing off the Fell Omen. You can see that the Fell Omen is relatively quick in speed and is easily overwhelming me because of how fast it is, and how slow my speed is compared to it. But the way to counter it is to find specific openings between the Fell Omen's attacks in order to get a good hit on them. Such as probably the next thing right here, where I tried going for an attack, but the Fell Omen nearly got a hit on me because I played a little too cocky. so forcing me to back away. And in the same clip here, where I tried to get a greedy slash, but ended up failing, but because of my range, I was able to get a free crit in. And one more thing I might add to Wilder as a whole is just try to have fun with him, experiment with him a little, and use him to his fullest potential. And definitely try to get as much practice as you can. Because you really have to understand most of the bosses in this game in order to get a really good hit on them and how to really do some damage against them, such as me fighting the Fell Omen here. I know that the Fell Omen is going to use that attack to its advantage and is going to do massive damage, and considering I do not have that much health compared to it, I am at a large disadvantage here. So then that means if I potentially die, then it's practically all over for me. So I have to play smart instead of bold. But that is going to be all for Wilder, and we are going to move on to our next character, but I'm going to let y'all enjoy the clip here of me absolutely destroying the Fell Omen. So, yeah. I also did forget to mention that Wilder does have a passive. It is called the Sixth Sense. It basically allows him to cheat death once and can be regenerated from 30 seconds to a minute. But I kind of forgot about it, so just pretend I said it earlier. For our next character, we have the Guardian, a tanky, mostly defensive guarding character that relies solely on their guard and their passive ability, which basically makes their guard a little bit better, but also exchanges their endurance and their dashing ability to literally be absolute garbage. Although they do strength off in dexterity, strength, and any other points that doesn't involve necessarily anything too crazy. But despite all of this, the Guardian isn't really that good, because of their main reasons being their ultimate and passive abilities, and basically their whole playstyle. Because Guardian you have to play extremely passive with, and you have to manage your stamina as much as possible in order to preserve it long enough for a good enough guard. But in the same problem, if you end up breaking your guard or get a guard break off of yourself, then you're basically contradicting the whole idea of trying to at least survive a couple attacks with a shield rather than something that isn't necessarily protecting you. But aside from that, moving on to his two abilities, the first one being a whirlwind based attack that can either uppercut or cause chip damage depending on what relics you have, and it can cause either a big stagger of damage or small little itty bitty chips of damage that can both lead into each other for good combos and good staggering. And for Guardian's Awakening or Ultimate, it's essentially a diving fast bomb where it essentially allows the Guardian to get an extra protective defense while also dealing damage. Now, I would say this is good if the damage wasn't that bad, because although despite the fact Guardian does scale out inside strength, it's not really that good compared to like the Wilder, the Iron Eye, or even the Executioner. It's not really that good unless you're playing teams. Then it's really good for revives, and that's basically it. I'm willing to guarantee you won't see any professional Guardian player use their ultimate without knowing someone's down. But hey, that's just me. But the tips and tricks I would have for Guardian is try to conserve your stamina as much as possible. Stamina is everything when it comes to Guardian. If you even waste a single piece of stamina, it could mean you are going to take 9,999 damage from a single hit because you ran out of stamina and you don't have your ultimate with you to come save you. And another thing I would say is never use your ultimate unless you're in a multiplayer situation But if you do solo Guardian and somehow win, then I have mad respect for you. I don't know how you managed to brave that, but holy cow, dude, you are awesome. But in the same way, if you're doing teams, then I recommend preserving your ultimate for when your teammates get down. It's a good last resort measure because of the extra defense that it gives after it lands, and it's overall good when it comes to teams, rather than just a solo mission. But now, apart from that, that's all I really have to say for Guardian. There's not much I can really put here else for him. Normally because I kinda suck at him. Even though I do play most of the characters, I mostly main Executor and the Wilder, so I can't really have much of a say on this. So, let's just move on to the next character. Our next character that we're going to look at is the Iron Eye. The Iron Eye is a harsh range character that utilizes a bow and utilizes mobility against their opponents. The Iron Eye has relatively decent stats, but has very low health and very low endurance. And along with their other stats being relatively normal and being relatively fine compared to the rest of them, making Iron Eye kind of like a glass cannon kind of character, depending on what you're going with. Now, as for the Iron Eye skills, we have its first skill called Marking. Marking allows the Iron Eye to swiftly approach the enemy and give them a good little tappy tap on them instead of marking on them. The more you hit this marking, the more red it gets, until it gets so red to the point where it causes a stagger, or it can cause a very big pool of damage. And this can be used a lot, and it also lasts very long, which means you can always kind of rely on it, sort of, and it also gives iframes, which means you could literally go through any attack and you'd be fine if you just use that. So it's really good at getting out of situations and leaving a good mark on it. Get it? You know, mark. Okay, I'ma shut up. Anyways, moving forward from nasty puns aside, the Iron Eye's ultimate is called the Big Ass Bow. Or I like to call it the Big Ass Bow because it's literally a big ass bow. And this big ass bow essentially creates a giant whirlwind that travels in a straight line depending on when it's aimed at, causing a little bit of spread damage while also causing a big amount of damage towards any enemy. This ultimate cannot stagger like the Wilder, but can do a lot of stun, which can lead to some combos and maybe a stagger if a second ultimate comes in to assist. So it's a very assisty kind of, sort of, little bit of a ultimate. So, yeah. And along with this, Iron Eye's passive, called Eagle Eye, essentially allows the Iron Eye to gain more better items and more ruins by defeating enemies or defeating bosses, such as me facing off the Black Knight Assassin here. I could essentially get more and more ruins and a good weapon here, but because of the storm that is slowly approaching, no pun intended for the DMC fans, I ended up having to skip the fight because of the half health thing and because I took a little bit of damage, and I'm not willing to play cocky for that. So I had to continue forward past that point so I wouldn't essentially die. But apart from Iron Eye's passive, it is also very versatile and very good when it comes to the later bosses, such as the Knight Aspect, aka Pontiff from Dark Souls 3. You cannot change my mind about that. That is literally Pontiff, bro. Trust me. But from all jokes aside, Iron Eye also has an issue. Just like the Guardian, he is very team-based. Meaning, if you're not on a team, you're more than likely going to lose against something like the boss that I'm fighting here, the Red Wolf of the King's Consort. Because of this, Iron Eye necessarily has to have a team, or can have a team, depending on which person you are. If you're a masochist who likes to go alone, or someone who's actually really smart and really beautiful and likes to go on a team. And these people can either be really, really good or can suck ass because they forgot how to dodge. So my tips and tricks to those people is utilize your dashes and utilize your range mobility. Make sure to keep your distance between you and the opponent as much as possible, and try to dodge any sort of ranged attack as much as possible. And if you're ever stuck in a situation where you think you're gonna get hit, then use your marking ability as soon as possible. It will give you enough iframes to at least live some of the hits, or even just... Actually, it won't cause you to live it, it'll actually just cause you to pass right through it. But I do recommend that you get a relic that allows the Iron Eye to have a second sort of marking ability, or a second usage for the marking ability. Because you can use the first marking ability to necessarily get the marking on the opponent, or just run away from it, or you could do the exact opposite, get a marking, then run away, or run away and then get a marking. But I don't really recommend the second option because you're more than likely going to get hit with that kind of scenario, but do what you do best. I'm not really here to judge. I'm just a girl on the internet who likes doing things, okay? But regardless, that is basically all I kind of really have to say about the Iron Eye. Apart from all of that, he's really just a glass cannon character that utilizes his range and mobility sort of aspects of his whole kit. But that's really gonna be it. And I know, and I forgot to mention this at the start, but I think I did put something of a mention at the beginning that this is gonna be a multi-part series, because I don't have the willpower, nor do I think anyone's gonna watch me yap about NightReign characters for an hour straight. So, yeah. I'm gonna leave it off here for today, so you guys get to watch me get my ass kicked, or kick ass against the Bell-Bearing Hunter, aka the most tankiest boss in the game. But you guys can get to see what I'm doing here. So take some notes from the old Lumi here, going against the Bell-Bearing Hunter using Iron Eye.